stop a train. From dial thermostats to today's smart home systems, EDS delivers reliable comfort you can count on. With over 800 Google reviews and a 4.8 star rating, they've earned your trust. 20 years of keeping Palm Beach cool. Visit EDSIsYes.com today.
Anna Jar and Levine.
Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
ESPN 1063.
WESP Jupiter, a Good Karma Brands radio station. We interrupt our regularly scheduled program for this special presentation of Inter Miami Soccer on ESPN 1063. The pink smoke is in the air. That means legendary goals.
Messi approaches. He goes left. Goal!
Heroic saves.
Back post save. Rios Novo stonewalled them.
Inter Miami Soccer is on ESPN 1063.
Goal de Messi.
This is Pink Smoke. Here's Mike Rizzo.
Big fixture tonight for Inter Miami, fresh off of their 3-2 victory at Empower Field at Mile High. Welcome on in, folks, to Pink Smoke. Mike Rizzo, Damian Perez at the City Place Studios in downtown West Palm Beach. Got a couple of guests for tonight's program. We're going to have two guests coming up in our second and third block. Looking forward to having a great show. And Damian, as always, partner, appreciate you. How you doing today? And are you still buzzing from Inter Miami's big win this past Saturday against Colorado?
Oh, man. Good afternoon, Mike. Always a pleasure to be here. Yeah, absolutely buzzing. I mean, going into that Colorado matchup, we were talking about how Inter Miami really struggles on those West Coast trips. And it wasn't just Colorado. We have a midweek game versus Real Salt Lake, also at a 9:30 kickoff, which is also very different for us. So at first, I was skeptical going into these two games away. But after the win against Colorado, I think the team responded well with Hoyos.
I agree. And we'll break down that game coming up when we go around the MLS. The two guests we're going to be having today, folks, we got Brian Dunseth, who's going to be calling the game for Apple TV tonight. Once again, this is your Inter Miami Radio Network. Mike Rizzo. I call the English games. Damian, a part of the Spanish team on 760. We'll have the game coming up at 9:30 right here on ESPN 1063. I'll be on the call. But on the TV call, we got Brian Dunseth tonight from Apple TV. We'll break down the game coming up with him around 6:20. And then Julian Zalvedar making his first appearance on Pink Smoke. I like to call Jules the Don of football. The Don of football here on 1063 and 760 AM Deportes. So we'll be speaking to Jules coming up later on in the show. Jules is going to be talking World Cup with me. Damien, it's crazy to think we're 50 days away from the World Cup. It is officially 50 days away from the World Cup. You got all these leagues on the European side wrapping up, the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga. Obviously, with the MLS, we're right in the thick of the beginning of the season. There's going to be about a 2-month break. Damien, May 24th to July 16th and the 17th. That's the break for the MLS. So we'll talk with Jules coming up later on in the program. But I mentioned going around the MLS, and folks, that is presented by our great friends at Audi. Around the MLS, brought to you by your local South Florida Audi dealer. We all know the feeling. A change of plan, an unexpected curve, and a new opportunity. Instead of overthinking it, what if you simply said yes? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer is easy. It's made for the S life. Say yes to adventure, to escape, and to right now. The Q3 has all the power and room to handle whatever may pop up in your busy life. Saying yes without hesitation is real luxury, and that is the all-new Audi Q3. It is made for the S life, and you can learn more at AudiUSA.com. Folks, Audi is the official premium and electric car partner of IMCF. Once again, the official premium and electric car partner of Inter Miami and your Inter Miami Radio Network is our great friends at your local South Florida Audi dealer. Now, let's go around the MLS and quickly check Inter Miami and where they're at on that MLS table. Our Herons have moved up to number 2. The Chicago Fire dropped points getting a draw last week, and Inter Miami able to move into that second place spot in the Eastern Conference. Nashville still with the lead in the Supporter Shield race and the Eastern Conference with 19 points. So Nashville with a strong season. And folks, I'm actually at your mercy because the two Western Conference teams in San Jose and Vancouver, how about this, Damian? In the West, San Jose has won 4 games in a row, and Vancouver has won 3 games in a row. Both of them have 21 points on the table. And like I said, I'm at your mercy because the Supporters' Shield at the end of the MLS season goes to the team with the most points on the MLS table combined. So right now, that would be Vancouver because of goal differential. Vancouver has 4 more goals scored, or rather has outscored their opponent by 4 more goals than San Jose. Vancouver with a plus 18, San Jose with a plus 14. And to put things in perspective, our Inter Miami Herons only have a plus 2 goal differential. But Inter Miami, as we know in this league, Damian, in the MLS, it's about getting into the playoffs. This is America, baby. The MLS is all about the MLS Cup playoffs, and I think our Herons proved that after they did not win the Supporters' Shield and did not have the first seed in the Eastern Conference last year, and were still able to hoist the trophy at the end of the season. Now, Damian, let's get into the highlights from Inter Miami's last game. Once again, this is Around the MLS presented by your local South Florida Audi dealer, the official premium and electric car partner of IMCF. 70,000 people came out to I Inter Miami and Lionel Messi in Colorado. It was the second most attended game in MLS history. I believe one of the LA derbies is still number 1 between the Galaxy and LAFC. 80,000 people showed up. But certainly in Colorado, it was absolute scenes. You had an early Messi penalty. You had a Messi goal late in the 79th minute. That was the deal breaker. Let's go through all the goal calls right now. Once again, this is myself on the calls, voicing the Inter Miami Herons, Mike Rizzo. Damian, let's play the first goal scoring highlight of the game. Once again, Inter Miami winning 3-2. Here's Lionel Messi stepping up for a spot kick from the penalty spot in the 18th minute. The whistle is blown. Messi approaches. Shot, goal! Lionel Messi opening up the scoring in the 18th minute. Now, this was off of and then, Damian, I'm interested to get your opinion on this because Wellesley, the head gaffer for Colorado, was very hot and heavy and upset about what transpired. So, folks, in the 18th minute, or rather 16th minute, Yannick Bright goes down in the box. Colorado, the way they play, they like to control possession. In the first half, they outpossessed Inter Miami 80% to 20%. They had the ball 80 more percent than Inter Miami. So they like to have the ball, and they pass it around the back. They play out of the defense with their goalkeeper and their center backs, and Inter Miami caught on to this. They slapped on a press, and in the 16th minute, Yannick Bright intercepted a pass in the Colorado box, and then Asensio hit him, and he went to ground. On the field, head referee John Freeman said, play on, all good, nothing there. VAR steps in. Folks, think of VAR, video replay. All right, it's the best way I could describe VAR for all you American sports fans out there. So video replay comes in and tells head referee John Freeman, hey, go look at this again. So Freeman, who originally called it on the field, no penalty, no foul play, play on, looked at it again. He awarded a penalty kick, Damian, and awarded a yellow card, which at the time I thought was absolutely crazy. You rarely see a referee, when he doesn't call it on the field, to call it and then book said player who knocked him to the ground. I was a little shocked by this, to be honest, in the 18th minute.
And I don't know what Colorado was mad about this. I mean, that was a clear penalty. It was a mistake in the back, something that you never do, let alone play around with the ball. If you're not sure, you can get it out. But I feel like Colorado's also lucky that they didn't receive a red card because the ref could have interpreted that was play, that was a one-on-one with the keeper and a clear scoring chance. And the rule states that if that's the case, it's a red card. So I really don't see what Colorado would be upset. If anything, I think they got lucky they didn't get a man sent off.
And obviously that opened up the scoring, but rarely in any world football match you're going to watch do you see a referee take a look at it back on the monitor, not only change his position on the play, but also award a booking. So that was a little, I think, eyebrow raising, but we will take it as Inter Miami took a early 1-0 lead in the 18th minute. Let's move on to our next highlight. How about Herman Berterame? After not scoring in his first 7 games as an Inter Miami Heron, he has scored 2 games in a row. Let's hear Bertarame's goal at the death in the first half. Header by Germán Berterame. Lionel Messi with it in the box, plays it to DePaul. Now Silvetti, a big cross in. Berterame, goal! Germán Berterame with the header goal, assisted by Matteo Silvetti. And Berterame, he went up and got that, Dame. And I couldn't tell at the time, like, Silvetti had the cross in, but it looked like it was deflected a little bit. Silvetti ultimately ended up getting the assist on the play, but Berterame, right place, right time, and a tidy header finish for the Mexican. A very well-taken goal by Germán Berterame.
Yeah, and a goal that's very important for Inter Miami. I mean, we brought in a guy in Germán Berterame who was very expensive, $15 million, one of the most expensive purchases in the MLS. And he was in a drought to begin the season. There was a lot of question marks, but good to see him score in 2 games straight. And you mentioned it, a goal that a striker would have scored too.
Now, Damian, Rafael Navarro for Colorado would end up scoring in the 58th minute, but Inter Miami, 2-0. They went up 2-0 going into the half. And then within 4 minutes in the second half, Colorado tied it up 2-2. Rafael Navarro, who had 5 goals for Colorado heading into the game, picked up his 6th goal. And Dame, I mean, brother, this was a nice finish and a nice move by Rafael Navarro for the Colorado Rapids. And hold on here, folks. Navarro with space. He's one-on-one with Mikael. Makes a stutter step and a goal. Oh, my goodness. What a goal by Rafael Navarro. Unbelievable. Dude, that's one of the best goals I've seen in the MLS this year. Dame, the hesitation, like he's going right, and then he went left. He completely blew by our defender. I hate to wax poetically about a goal for the other side, but man, now, Dame, by the way, Leo, the voice on the Spanish side, he does the thing with the hands. You got to explain the thing with the hands for me. Because Damian was
it's a reaction.
Damian was a college soccer player, and when something good happens, the best way I could describe it is like you're packing a dip can. You know what I mean?
It's a good way to describe
it. Like back in the day, Grizz Wintergreen long cut, you're smacking that thing, about to put in a lipper. But I saw Leo do that when we were at the Inter Miami game 2 games ago, and I'm like, that's where Damian learned that.
It's like an expression, and honestly, growing up, watching soccer, it's something that when you see a great goal, a great play, there's no words that need to be said. It's just that expression. It's almost like the Italian
like fingers up.
The little palm that the Italians do. It's similar to that.
Okay, but I love that, and I've completely stolen that from you and Leo, so thank you for getting me hip to Latino culture. But Navarro with a hell of a goal. And then 4 minutes later, Darren Yappy, folks, subbed on in the 61st minute. And in the 62nd minute, ties this thing up. I couldn't believe it. Going full-on attack to try to tie this game up. In the 61st minute, announcer curse. Here's Yappy, shot, goal! Unbelievable, the recently subbed on Darren Yappy with the goal. Now, Yappy, he megged. Sinclair's got to be better there. He megged Sinclair on that play. Shot it right at him, Dame. I got on Dane Sinclair for a little bit there. Now, if I can, I think Sinclair is a great goalkeeper. Much to be desired from Dane Sinclair for me the first couple of games for Inter Miami, Damian.
Yeah, and similar to Berterame, he came over to Inter Miami with some expectations. You know, he was the goalkeeper of the year last season. He rejected a bunch of contracts to come to Inter Miami. It's almost like he handpicked it. But like I said, a lot of expectations coming in. And I feel like he's also gotten a bit unlucky, but for the most part, hasn't met those expectations.
Damien, he doesn't know when to leave his line. You know what I'm saying?
He's
like to go and get a ball.
Too.
God, he can't play the ball with his feet. And then on top of that, if you can't do that and you're getting megged on on a shot that got shot right at you, I don't mean to pile on St. Clair, folks. He won the goalkeeper of the year last year in the MLS. I think it's going to turn around for him, but I even think there's much to be desired there. I think it could only go up for Dane St. Clair, but it didn't matter because Damien in the 79th minute, Lionel Messi called game. Let's take a listen to the GOAT. As our Herons back on the ball with DePaul, here's Lionel Messi. Messi with acres of space. Needs something, Leo. Cuts in, shot! Goal! Lionel Messi with a goal! 3-2 Inter Miami! Right when you need him, he answers! Lionel Messi gives Inter Miami the lead in the 79th minute! for it. He delivered. I knew it was a dangerous spot. That was the game right there. Whatever happened on Messi's foot, Damie cuts in, has space to get a shot off. I mean, it's a classic Messi inverted winger.
R1 circle.
Inverted winger, cutting in, left foot finesse. Nobody was saving that. You'd have Iker Casillas back there in his prime. That brother wasn't saving it. So, and Inter Miami would go on to win 3-2. Man, only Messi could finish that. Now, we'll continue to break this game down because I didn't like Inter Miami blowing that 2-0 lead, Dame. I know Guillermo Hoyos, new head coach, probably getting his footing a little bit. It seemed like Mascherano ball to me. There wasn't much different there. The fullbacks were still playing up. It was uber attacking again. And I get it. Colorado played a little different. They weren't necessarily trying to get out and run. They wanted to get the ball, pass it in the back, and play long balls to Navarro and Minangu. All game long, they're two strikers, but we'll break that down in a bit because, folks, we got to hit the injury report presented by Lytle Rider Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath. For 40 years, Lytle Rider Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath have stood up for clients and South Florida communities. If you've been injured, their experienced attorneys across South Florida are ready to help you fight for your rights. They've recovered billions for their clients. There's no cost for a case evaluation and no fee unless they win. Visit For Your Rights. That's foryourrights.com. That's Lytle Rider Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, proud supporters of Inter Miami CF on ESPN South Florida. Their main offices are in Palm Beach Gardens. Now, a couple of players on the injury report for Inter Miami tonight. First off, you got Yannick Bright, who is suspended. Now, Damian, at the time, I had no idea what was going on during the broadcast, but he got sent off with a red card, and I heard there was a racial slur in there. So we're expecting him to miss multiple games. Yeah. Not this one, but multiple games. What stinks is David Aishala is also injured. Another central defender midfielder. He's not expected back till May 26th. So Coach Guillermo Hoyos is going to have to get a little creative at that DM position. I think we're waiting for Casemiro at this point, honest to God.
That probably made it more urgent.
So those two guys out. Matteo Silvetti, sadly, out with a hamstring injury, pulled his hamstring last game. And Sergio Reguilon, listen, I think Reguilon's a fine player, but he's someone you're going to see on that injury report.
Is he the new Obando?
Week out. Absolutely. Absolutely. Damien, we knew this. That's like, for me, we knew, you and I, from watching him at Tottenham, Manchester United, Barcelona, this is who Sergio is. Listen, great player when on the field. When he's played, he's been quality. But the issue is getting onto the field. Let's take a timeout because when we come back, we're going to be bringing in Brian Dunseth. He's calling the game for Apple TV tonight. Him and I are going to have a conversation about Inter Miami coming up next on your Inter Miami radio network.
For 40 years, Lytle, Rider, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath has stood up for clients in South Florida communities. If you've been injured, their experienced attorneys across South Florida are ready to fight for your rights. They've recovered billions for their clients. There's no cost for a case evaluation and no fee unless they win. Visit foryourrights.com. That's foryourrights.com. Lytle, Rider, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, proud supporters of Inter Miami FC on ESPN South Florida. Main office in Palm Beach Gardens.
Power up your future at Palm Beach State College by training in a high-demand field. Our residential and commercial electrician certificate program offers hands-on training from licensed electricians with 40-week daytime or 60-week evening options. Financial aid is available for those who qualify. Get started on the path to a successful career as an electrician at Palm Beach State College. Attend one of our free hands-on info sessions. Visit pbsc.edu and search info. That's pbsc.edu.
Need an extra boost? With Boost Checking from Flagler Credit Union, you can earn up to $700 each year with a 7.0% annual percentage yield on balances up to $10,000. That's real money for real moments, like a family getaway or treating yourself to something special. Boost Checking from Flagler Credit Union. Requirements apply to earn the highest dividend rates. Limit one checking account per membership. Dividend rates and annual percentage yield subject to change. Business accounts do not qualify. Insured by NCUA, official credit union of Florida Atlantic Athletics.
Hey, Steph Prince here, General Manager of ESPN West Palm, to tell you about a team that has meant a lot to me and this community for a long time. Bob and the team at Bradley Heating and Air Conditioning have been helping me stay cool for years, whether at home or in the office. And living in South Florida with 3 kids, I don't know what I'd do without them. Family owned and operated, serving Royal Palm Beach and beyond since 1980. Let the knowledgeable and trained team at Bradley help you with your residential and commercial needs, installation, repair, seasonal maintenance, upgrades of all makes and styles and models of HVAC equipment, and so much more. Bradley Heating and Air Conditioning does things right the first time and makes the process smooth, stress-free, and most importantly, keeps you cool. Give them a call at 561-793-7497. That's 561-793-7497 or bradleyair.com. Any need, big or small, trust the amazing team at Bradley Heating and Air Conditioning.
Hey, it's Tina. Okay, let's be real. When you need tires or a battery, you want someone you can actually trust, right? That's why I go to St. Lucie Battery and Tire. They've been keeping South Florida moving for over 50 years, and they're still family owned. They've got all the big tire brands, plus batteries for pretty much everything. Their best price out the door guarantee means you know you're getting the best deal. So next time your car needs something, don't stress. Just go to St. Lucie Battery and Tire, slbt.com. Trust me, they've got you covered.
This is Pink Smoke.
Messi, one-timer to Segovia, goal!
Here's Mike Rizzo.
Welcome on back to Pink Smoke. We're going to get Brian Dunseth in just a second. Dunny from that Apple TV broadcast. Dunny is a match analyst, and folks, former MLSer, the New England Revolution, Columbus Crew, FC Dallas, Real Salt Lake, and the LA Galaxy. Also helped Team USA at the Olympics in the medal rounds, the best ever finish for the U.S. men's team in the Olympics back in 2000. So Dunny does it. And we're going to ask Dunny exactly what he thinks of Inter Miami so far this year, where the team has been in his eyes and what's going on there. We're waiting to hear from Brian Dunseth here in just a second. But Inter Miami and Real Salt Lake coming up tonight, and a couple of players to look out for Real. I mean, Diego Luna, gosh, I'm rooting for Diego Luna so much to make the United States men's national team. Now, Diego Luna, the 22-year-old, for all of you football fans out there, if you remember during the Gold Cup, he was one of the wingers that was running around and scoring all the goals. You know, I call him the little fire plug, man, and that's not, I'm not knocking him for that. He's a bigger guy. He's got a bigger base, and he's quick as hell. And I think he is a player that Mauricio Pochettino cannot afford to not have on the roster coming up for the North American World Cup. But Diego Luna, I think the best player for Real Salt Lake, and he is coming off of a goal and 2 assist game. So he is in form heading into the game coming up tonight. Salt Lake's striker, Sergi Solins, the 22-year-old Spanish striker. He's got 5 goals on the young MLS season and 7 matches played. So he is another guy who's going to be scoring goals like crazy for Real if Inter Miami's not careful. Those would be the 2 attackers that I would focus in on if I were Guillermo Hoyos and Inter Miami. I'm looking at Luna and I'm looking at Solins, who have really been doing the business for Real Salt Lake this season. Another player to look out for is a 28-year-old Morgan Aguil Gavogi. He is one of the faster players off of that right side in the MLS. He's got a goal and 2 assists on the year in 6 matches. And he is fresh off of a goal-scoring appearance, scoring 1 goal against San Diego. But certainly, I listen, this is a game Inter Miami should win. This is a game that I think Real Salt Lake is going to be a little, I think, ready to go for, to call it chomping at the bait. I'm a firm believer that our Inter Miami Herons are one of those teams that just, gets the best. You're going to get the best from every team. It's Yankee-esque. It's Ohio State football-esque. Each team, week in and week out, I think is going to give our Herons their best go. I think you saw it. I think you saw it. I think you saw it with Austin. I think you saw it with the New York Red Bull. And I even think you saw it with the Colorado Rapids at Mile High, who scored 2 goals in 4 minutes and played a very inspired second half. Now, it's time to bring them in, folks. Dunny, Brian Dunseth, the former MLSer, the former international man on the United States side. Dunny, how you doing today, brother? You good?
I'm fantastic. I appreciate the time.
Of course. And listen, tonight we got a big one, and you're going to be a part of the crew on Apple TV. That's Real Salt Lake and our Inter Miami Herons, and a couple of storylines falling into this game on the Inter Miami side. There's a Guillermo Hoyo side where this is his second game coming off a big-time win. Lionel Messi with a brace. You got Yannick Bright getting suspended for saying God only knows what to head referee John Freeman. Dunny, where are you leaning in this matchup? And what are you expecting to see from Inter Miami heading into this game against Real Salt Lake, a 9:30 start tonight on the East Coast?
Yeah, I would say for Inter Miami and Lionel Messi in particular, this is the show, right? You pop the 10 up, you put on a show, you inspire a fan base that has flown into the state of Utah to singularly support Inter Miami and wear those incredible Inter Miami jerseys at America's First Field. And on the flip side, you're looking for Pablo Mastroeni and Real Salt Lake to continue an unbelievable start to the season. They've scored multiple goals in every match outside the game in Vancouver, the initial opener of the 2026 season. So you got a team that, with a new manager and a different look and a different theory than Javier Mascherano, that continues to put in play whoever they are going to be in the short term and starting to move forward. And on the flip side, I'll tell you what, this is a really athletic Real Salt Lake that needs to find a lot of nuance between trying to put on a show for their home fans, play at a really high level with athleticism, defensive press, and capitalizing on mistakes, while also recognizing when they're going to be at their most vulnerable, that's when they're in possession, because we all know how lethal Inter Miami is in those transition moments when opponents turn the ball over.
Brian Dunseth from Apple TV joining us. Dunny, former MLSer, former United States men's national team man, giving us the time here on Pink Smoke. Now, Dunny, what did you see from Guillermo Hoyos in game one? Tactically, did you like what you saw for Inter Miami? Was it comparable to stuff Mascherano does? In your eyes, you know, being a big-time footballer, what did you see from Guillermo Hoyos in that first game at Mile High?
Listen, a couple of changes, right? Outside back swapping. For the most part, everything else really looks the same. The substitution pattern is going to look a little bit different. Whatever equity was earned underneath Javier Mascherano in terms of player performance every single day on the training field and then within the white lines for 90 minutes, that goes all out the window, because right, wrong, or indifferent, those relationships are going to look and feel different with a different guy in charge. And again, here we are. What do? We pontificate about our team, right? Yeah. We have such tribalism. We have such of this connectivity DNA of how we think we want our teams to play. There's a guy named Ziggy Schmidt, one of the best coaches in the history of MLS. And I'll never forget, he said to me one day, substitution patterns. Don't tell me who to bring on. Tell me who to bring off, and how does that make my team better? And I always start to think about that, especially with new managers, because it's one thing to have this, oh, he should have brought this guy on. He shouldn't have taken that guy on. Look, it ruined the game. Oh, my God, he made the game better. At the end of the day, in those moments, in those tough moments, those are things you got to figure out. The challenge, as we know, is it's spring in Utah. So we go from 80 degrees to 30 degrees in like a 25-minute wind chill change. On top of that, you're dealing with the altitude, which is about 5,000 feet here in Salt Lake City at America First Field. So you look for that first 20 minutes for players to acclimatization, lungs and breathing, all those, to get their legs underneath them. But ultimately, this is nothing new for Inter Miami. So when we talk about phases of play, when we talk about players getting forward, when we talk about overloads, we talk about midfield balance. Now we talk about some changes in the starting 11. We'll see in which direction Hoyos is thinking, with a couple of knocks, a couple of injuries, and that suspension to Yannick Bright. I guess my prediction is we'll see. And I don't mean to straddle the fence on this, because we just don't know. So if we're looking at the names and the faces on the back of the jerseys, we understand that Inter Miami are the favorites, but there's something to be said right now in this start for Real Salt Lake that I think athletically they could cause some problems in kind of the idea of turns over for me is going to be the number one thing to look at on both sides of the ball for Real Salt Lake and Inter Miami.
And Dunny, it's a good point because you got Yannick Bright on a red, and then David Aishala is dealing with a muscle injury. I mean, we're thinking Davi Ruiz maybe at that DM spot, Alexander Shaw, who's very green. So I am interested to see what Hoyos does in the midfield. Now, the story around Inter Miami all early season has been Herman Berterame, and thank God, Dunny, he has scored in the last 2 games. It seems he's finding his footing. There are a lot of tough Listen, I had to answer more questions why Berterame isn't scoring goals for this team than I think anything. As far as the first, 7-8 games, but Bertie's scoring in his last 2 games. What has he unlocked, Dunny, these last 2 games, and why do you think he's in such great form?
I would say that in particular, he's a proven goal scorer in the CONCACAF region. It's obvious the Argentine connection. Now he's flipped and gone to Mexico to play at the World Cup for Javier Aguirre. He's a lethal finisher. He's a poacher. He's dynamic in the air. But at the end of the day, listen, it's a unique set of circumstances to play with someone like Lionel Messi to try to figure out exactly when's the right time? When do you exercise space, the awareness of space? How do you not get in his way? How do you continue to find the nuances of link-up play, which is really, really important? And then how do you kind of finish off these chances? All of those things, I think it's a learning curve, and people might not like talking about it. People might try, and we do this thing, tribalism, where we say, oh, my guy cost 20 million. Oh, my guy cost 120. Well, it was really net spend. Look at his goal difference. I mean, if you look over in Europe, there's only a couple Erling Haalands, Robert Lewandowski's, those type of Harry Kanes in the world. So it's not an easy answer. It's an easy question. But, I mean, listen, I've watched Berterame for years. I know patience isn't a word that anybody has, but they're going to be just fine. It's just going to take a couple of moments that are manufactured to show that they're absolutely outliers the previous couple of games, and this is more of the reality of what it looks like.
Brian Dunseth, Dunny, joining us here on Pink Smoke. Dunny, you're going to hear him tonight on the broadcast, on the Apple TV broadcast with our Herons and Real Salt Lake. Former MLSer, former United States men's national team man. Dunny, last 2 things before we get into some Salt Lake stuff. Rodrigo DePaul and Dane St. Clair, Inter Miami fans are a little worried about the slow start. It seems like DePaul, every game has this turnover where you're just ripping your hair out, where it could possibly lead to a chance. And then Dane, he got megged the last game by Darren Yappy. Listen, goalkeeper of the year, he's a great player. I'm going to need him to learn when to come off his line, Dunny. He's got to start timing up these challenges a little better. But from your perspective, DePaul and St. Clair, you think that's going to turn around for Inter Miami this season?
Man, you're listen, I should probably disclose the fact that I grew up with 2 Argentine brothers, Lucas and Andres, in Southern California. So my affinity for Argentine football, and in particular, Argentina's national team, is very clear and evident. I'm a Lisandro Martinez, Cuti Romero center back homer when it comes to kind of the physicality.
The Butcher.
Tony,
the Butcher. I'm a Red Devil fan. You don't got to sell me on the Butcher.
There we go. I mean, God, at least we're still in the Ruben Amorim celebration of departures. I called it Ruben Amorim Independence Day these last couple of weeks. Yeah, listen, I'm a huge fan of Rodrigo DePaul in terms of the player, the way he plays with such panache and style. I love his combativeness, his manipulation of the game, the way he manipulates opponents, the way he manipulates referees. There's a constant verbal jousting that's happening, but I also understand that falls in line with expectations of performance. It's never one player's fault. We can point to mistakes that are made individually that then creates a trickle-down effect. If there was, and listen, it's just, I think at some point we have to acknowledge without Busquets and Alba, it's going to look different and it's going to feel different. And that's not necessarily a bad thing over time, but that certainly doesn't mean that there won't be speed bumps associated with trying to figure out what life looks like with a different type of kind of penultimate 6 sitting in front of that back line with and without the ball. The Dane Sinclair thing was always going to be interesting to me, because the way that Eric Ramsey and Minnesota United sat, He was more of a stay-at-home shot stopper, great in the air on set pieces, and in the margins, it was more reaction. That's the complete opposite with Inter Miami, because in the majority of the possession, how proactive and connective he needs to be on his line. The biggest weakness that Inter Miami has is obviously transition defending, which has been, I did all the FIFA Club World Cup matches, and every time that you knew that they were in trouble were those turnovers in the midfield and getting out in behind outside backs and the overloads. And so for St. Clair, he's a very good goalkeeper. I don't think he or Maxime Crepeau up at Orlando City have done enough to really separate one another from that number one spot in Canada from what we've seen at the start of the season. But Dane's got to play within his capabilities, and that means keep possession when it's simple. Play direct when you feel the pressure and you're not confident. And then if you're going to stay high off your line at the top of your penalty area, you got to really do the opposite of what we've seen from Zach Steffen in Colorado, because that was the main problem that he had that really took away his opportunity to be a part of this World Cup this upcoming summer in 50 or so days
50
left.
days on the dot. 50 on the dot,
again,
Tony.
Yeah. It's wild. By the way, how lucky are we?
Oh,
how excited.
God.
I mean, I grew up in Southern California. I couldn't afford ticket prices then. I sure can't afford ticket prices now. But being outside of the Rose Bowl, being down on the grass, being down on the golf course, and just feeling the atmosphere in '94. I volunteered at the LA Convention Center. And now for my kids to understand what the power of the World Cup looks like in the United States, it's going to be extraordinary. I can't wait.
Now, Dunny, I completely agree. I'm going to be having a World Cup show here down in ESPN West Palm. Got all my boys, all my world football lads, as I call it. Americans call this sports soccer, sadly. So I call it world football. We're going to be getting together. We're going to be having fun and watching all of the fixtures. But interesting about St. Clair and DePaul, and I agree with you that Jesse Marsh is going to have a decision with St. Clair and Crepeau. Going to be interesting to see what he decides to do there. Now, Dunny, break down. You're high on Salt Lake, brother. You're high on Salt Lake. Solons has been scoring at a high rate. Their striker. I think if Pochettino doesn't take Diego Luna at the World Cup, he is absolutely trolling. But tell me maybe about some other guys outside of Luna and Solons that we should be looking out for on this young and dangerous Real Salt Lake team.
Yeah, very quietly, change of ownership. The Miller Sports and Entertainment Group that used to own the Utah Jazz has flipped with Ryan Smith. They are now the owners of Real Salt Lake and Utah Royals. In the offseason, provided $16 million worth of funds.
Wow.
They elevated Jason Christ to be basically the theoretical leader of both the men's and the women's team, including the academy. Kurt Schmidt, Ziggy Sun, Tony Beltran, and Pablo Mastroeni have added 6 starters to this group. Arias is coming back, 22-year-old Colombian center back. He's already won 5 trophies at Atlético Nacional. Juan Sanabria is going to go to the World Cup with Uruguay. Stein Spearings is a Dutchman, 30-year-old defensive midfielder. Guy Lavogui comes over from France. He and Diego Luna in partnership, in tandem, underneath Sergi Solons has been phenomenal. They added DeAndre Yedlin, so you got a good culture guy, an experienced guy in the locker room as well. Rafa Cabral, his goalkeeper, has been outstanding. And listen, Solons is the perfect example of why not everything needs to be focused on academy products. From Spain, from Girona, ended up at Oregon State, drafted by Real Salt Lake, allowed to go back for one more year, transferred to UCLA, had 16 goals. And with Victor Olatunji getting hit in the face and having a really horrific eye injury before the start of the season, Sergi Solons took his opportunity. He's now got 5 goals, 2 assists in 7 matches played. Relentless press, great athleticism. He's got a burst of speed that can pull away. He's about 6'2". He was great in the air. 2 goals last week. He and Diego Luna were team of the match day. It's just a fun team to watch. And Xavier Goso is going to be one of the next upcoming dynamic players. If Goso was a year earlier, like Alex Freeman was for Mauricio Pochettino, I think Gozo's a lock for the World Cup.
Wow.
2 goals in the last 2 matches in the first 5 minutes of games for Diego Luna with his press and his creativity. And don't think for a second, by the way, he's been elevated. When you walk into an Apple store, it's Diego Luna and it's obviously Lionel Messi front and center. So don't think for a second he's not going to look to try to put on a show as well. So it's a fun team to watch. I think they're a top 4 team in the Western Conference. I didn't have Bruce Arena and San Jose flying, but I did have Pablo Mastroeni and Real Salt Lake being real troublemakers in the Western Conference.
Sounds like we're shaping up for a good one tonight in Salt Lake. And I'll tell you what, I agree with you. Everything you said about Diego Luna. He plays for the badge. And listen, I know there are a ton of great players that play internationally for the United States men's national team, but I want guys who are proud to wear the badge. And I don't think there's a guy more proud than Diego Luna. Now, Dunny, before I let you go, partner, appreciate all the time. I know you pay attention to all the world football out there. My brother's an Arsenal man. I'm a United man. He was at Tampa Fan Fest to see the hashtag bottle begin. Is Arsenal bottling the league, brother? We got 5 fixtures left. City beating Burnley today. They're number 1. Do you see, is there a way back for Arsenal to possibly win this league, or is this thing said and done already?
I think both could be true. And again, I'll explain myself really quickly. The theory that I abide by is that for Arsenal, until they've done it, they don't know what it takes. I think each and every year they're a stronger group. The investment has been heavy. Mikel Arteta has gotten his guys. But for one reason or another, when it comes to this part of the season, the dynamics have been very difficult for them to overcome. Nobody's feeling bad for Arsenal. I feel like every team in the Premier League is hate watching Arsenal matches that aren't Arsenal fans. And then ultimately, how do they kind of limp over the line? And by the way, they still got to face Atletico Madrid in I call it the Dunsethery, the dark arts, the manipulation of each other, set pieces, corners, referees. That'll be the most Dunsethery match there possibly could be, while it's all going to be about football between Bayern Munich and PSG. So short answer, I'm not sure. It's going to be insanely difficult, but it makes it fun for all of us to watch Arsenal players hold each other's hands and try to light a light bulb, or the video sessions of TikToks telling them how great they are in the middle of their training sessions, trying to listen to You'll Never Walk Alone ahead of a trip to Anfield. All of these things make for glorious banter. And in the meantime, us Manchester United fans went from worst case scenario to qualifying for Champions League next season. And by the way, I tell everyone, if you got a Manchester United fan in your life right now, go ask them for anything.
Yes.
Because they're probably going to say yes.
Yes.
Because the feel-good factor.
I got to. Michael Carrick is a good lad. I mean, you got to bring him back. You got to bring him back. I don't care. Ole Gunnar all over again. I don't give a crap. You bring him back. The plan was always Champion League football. Who are you going to get? Dunny, if you don't bring Michael Carrick, who are you going to get? All right? So you got to bring him back.
Yeah.
All right? You got to bring him back.
They're going to kick. They're going to kick the tires on Iraola. They're going to kick the tires on Pochettino, rightly so.
Yeah.
But I think that Steve Holland being the assistant and Johnny Evans, et cetera,
yep.
The idea of running away from the past, I think, was stupid. We finally held on to the past, and I think it's one of the reasons why everyone understands what it means to represent Manchester United. And by the way, Bruno is a 6. The stupidity in that. The only thing that was more dumb was the quotes coming out of Liam Rossinier week by week, day by day for Chelsea.
He signed a 5-year deal, Dunny. Sacked.
By the way, the break clause only means that they have to pay $4 million instead of the $24 million.
24.
They are smarter than we all thought.
I guess, but God, they're always finding loopholes.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for financial fair play to eventually get Chelsea. Dunny, I could do this for hours, brother. Always welcome on the show. Thank you so much. Can't wait to have you back on, and looking forward to hearing you on the call tonight, okay?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I'm heading, Max and I are heading down Saturday for the game against New England, so I cannot wait to check out
I'll see you there.
stadium.
Brother, guess what? Your booth is right next to me, so you get to hear me scream all game. So how about that?
There we go. I don't know what's worse, you or Tio. We'll find out.
Probably me. Dunny, I'll see you Saturday, all right, partner? Appreciate it.
Sounds good. I appreciate you.
That was Brian Dunseth from Apple TV. He'll be on the call tonight and on the call for the Herons coming up on Saturday. Folks, I got to take a timeout. My hermano, Julian joining us next right here on Pink Smoke, ESPN 106.3.
For 40 years, Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fraunrath has stood up for clients in South Florida communities. If you've been injured, their experienced attorneys across South Florida are ready to fight for your rights. They've recovered billions for their clients. There's no cost for a case evaluation and no fee unless they win. Visit foryourrights.com. That's foryourrights.com. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath. Proud supporters of Inter Miami FC on ESPN South Florida. Main office in Palm Beach Gardens.
Picture this. A curve in the road. A change in plans. Well, what do you say? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer's always yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to escape. Yes to performance. Yes to comfort. Yes to right now. Because saying yes without hesitation, that's real luxury. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the yes life.
Kaiser University's flagship campus, the 100-acre residential campus at 2600 North Military Trail in West Palm Beach, extends Kaiser University's educational offerings to over 100 degrees within the heart of South Florida. Kaiser University also has an athletic program with 29 national championships, including the reigning champs in swimming and diving, lacrosse, and tennis. Visit KUSeahawks.com for the latest on the championship flagship campus of Kaiser University.
Today's tax tip is brought to you by Anshin Accountants and Advisors with George Teixeira, partner and practice leader of Anshin's Financial Services Group.
When launching a private investment fund, proper structuring could mean the difference between high tax bills and smart tax savings. The new One Big Beautiful Bill Act permanently extends the 20% deduction on qualified business income, makes favorable changes to exclusions of gains of qualified small business stock, and brings back full expensing on capital investments. For fund managers, this means new opportunities to reduce taxable income and improve cash flow. At Anshin, a partner-owned firm since 1923, we specialize in building tax-efficient structures that help funds and their investors make the right decisions today for greater success tomorrow. If you are launching a fund in this new environment, let Anshin deliver value where others can't.
For more tax tips from Anshin, visit Anshin.com. That's ANCHIN.com. Anshin Accountants and Advisors, helping you recalculate what's possible.
Since 2006, EDS Air Conditioning has kept Palm Beach County comfortable through every summer, every storm, and every season in between. EDS Air Conditioning is a trained comfort specialist. It's hard to stop a train. From dial thermostats to today's smart home systems, EDS delivers reliable comfort you can count on. With over 800 Google reviews and a 4.8 star rating, they've earned your trust. 20 years of keeping Palm Beach cool. Visit EDSisyes.com today.
This is Pink Smoke.
Messi, one-timer to Segovia, goal!
Here's Mike Rizzo.
All right, folks, this is a monumental moment because the Don of football is on the show, and that is Julian Zalvedar. Now, my hermano, Jules, he oversees all of our Inter Miami stuff, English and Spanish, and he is an ambassador for the World Cup coming up down here in South Florida. I am well and ready. I know Damian is, Julian is. We're all ready to go for the World Cup. But Jules, brothers, I cannot believe it took this long to get you on the program. Welcome on, my friend.
I know. I've been waiting for a while talking to Damian. Damian, what do I need to do to be invited to the show? But it's exciting, and I think the opportunity is perfect. 50 days away from the FIFA World Cup. 50 days, that's insane. I can't wait for this tournament to happen. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about why it's so massive, why South Florida is the epicenter of it all, and why ESPN South Florida is the place to be at when it comes to really aligning a brand or a fan or a partner to the World Cup.
And Jules, let's start there because, I mean, obviously we're 50 days out. We got some great programming coming up on the English side on 106.3 and the Spanish side on 760. Just what could people expect from us as a station when it comes to this great World Cup coming to North America?
Sure. And I think it's just all about being authentic and being aligned with what soccer has become in the last few years here in the United States. Soccer is here. I've been hearing people asking, oh, will this World Cup finally bring the soccer enthusiasts to the next level? Soccer is here. It's been here for a while. And I think Inter Miami and Lionel Messi in South Florida has really shown what soccer can accomplish. That's why we are the most credible. We are the largest soccer media entity in South Florida, which, by the way, happens to be the top soccer market in the country.
Wow.
So because we have such a responsibility, we want to make sure that we're serving fans and partners the right way. From bilingual content, we're going to have live play-by-play in Spanish. I know Damien is going to be listening to Uruguay. I'm going to be listening to Mexico, to the U.S., to Argentina, Portugal. We have every single live match in Spanish, but we also have shows, specialty World Cup shows before and after the soccer action. I know you're going to be hosting.
Looking forward to it.
A World Cup show, which is going to be incredible. I know our Elias Bustamante and Leo Vega and our Inter Miami Spanish talent are going to be joining our morning shows, as well as Damien. And we also have World Cup reports, daily updates, all our content are going on digital on our YouTube channels. But what about the community outreach? What about the watch parties with fans that we're planning? We know where to go. We know who to cheer for. I can't wait to see everyone enjoying a World Cup watch party for the U.S. men's national team and ESPN South Florida being at the middle of it.
And Jules, you mentioned it's in our backyard.
It's in our backyard.
It's right here in South Florida. We got matches at Hard Rock. I know it's going to be a long time until we get it again. Forgive me for thinking there's going to be games at that brand new stadium, no pun intended, new Bank Stadium. But Jules, you hit the nail on the head. We're the number one soccer market. We got the best player in the world. There's a brand spanking new stadium right next to the airport down in Miami, and we have World Cup games coming up here in 50 days. Talk about what this means for the community here in South Florida to have such a monumental event coming in 50 days.
Absolutely. And I think it's all about the essence of the South Florida sports community. We know this is a large multicultural market. We know people speak many languages, people follow different cultures, but soccer is really that common denominator. Soccer is that glue that will bring fans together during 40 days of games. We're going to have 7 games here in South Florida, 7 Super Bowls. Let me give you a stat that I think is going to make you fully understand the perspective of how massive the World Cup is. It looks like over 75% of Americans are going to be following the World Cup this summer. That's more than 200 million people consuming World Cup content, and South Florida is the number one market here in the U.S. But this is another one, and I want to see your face when I tell you this.
Let me hear it, Jules.
Audience, World Cup audience. Do you know what that is? Give me a number. Give me a guess.
Around the world?
Global, yes.
2 billion?
6 billion.
6 billion.
6 billion. That's the World Cup audience. Do you know what's the Super Bowl audience?
I would say 2.5 billion.
120 to 130 million.
Oh, wow.
So
I'm way off, Jules.
We have the World Cup, 6 billion. We have the Super Bowl, 120 million. That means that the World Cup audience is 50 times as large as the Super Bowl.
Jeez.
50 times. And we're going to have 7 Super Bowl level events here in Miami. We're going to be at the heart of it. And we have teams like Brazil. We have Cristiano Ronaldo, Portugal, my favorite team to win it all. We're going to have Colombia. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be a once-in-a-generation event. And I'm so proud that our team, ESPN South Florida, is going to be right in the middle of everything.
Folks, Julian Salvador joining me here on Pink Smoke. Listen, I call Julian the Don of football. The Don of football here on ESPN 106.3, and on the Deporte side, he oversees all of our Inter Miami partnerships. Now, he's obviously into the World Cup. He's selling the World Cup for us like crazy. I'm going to be doing a show. We're going to be having shows on the Deporte side. He's just got to tell you, 6 billion people are going to be watching the World Cup. So, Jules, you mentioned you're high on Portugal. Now, I feel like we're obligated to root for Lionel Messi. Listen, I'm a Manchester United man. I love Ronaldo. I would love to see him get a World Cup. But listen, Messi he's our guy. And if he were to go back-to-back to end his career, I think that would be something special. But you mentioned you like Portugal. For me, Jules, Spain, France. France could field 3 11s and still be their third 11 could still be the 5th or 6th best team in this competition.
Talent-wise, France is
right,
stronger than anyone else, including Spain. I know Spain's the number one favorite to win it all. France, Argentina, as you mentioned, with Lionel Messi. The problem that I see with Argentina is they already won it. They know what that feels like. We all know that the Argentine team came together to give Messi that trophy that he was missing. Now it's time to defend the crown. I don't know how easy that will be. I like Portugal. I think this is a new generation of players full of talent. Cristiano Ronaldo playing his 6th World Cup. This is a time for Ronaldo. From a storyline standpoint, from a historic moment standpoint, I want to see Cristiano Ronaldo lift the big one.
Now, Damian Perez, my co-host and producer on Pink Smoke, he sounds like a fellow Manchester United fan.
Yeah, and honestly,
he sounds like somebody who had glory years with that team like me with CR7.
I got to be honest. I'm on the complete other side of that. I think Portugal, in my opinion, would be the worst case scenario.
Oh,
That's ridiculous because he's a Barcelona guy.
Or maybe because he thinks Uruguay is going to win it all.
Uruguayo. Hang on. Uruguayo. Uruguayo.
That is definitely a reason, but I'm also Team Messi, and I'm glad that GOAT conversation is put to rest with Messi's World Cup, and I just don't want to see that debate
Julian and I, we are very thankful for Lionel Messi. We absolutely love Lionel Messi. We will not say a bad word, but we are looking forward to seeing CR7 in the World Cup. Now,
one quick question for you guys before we finish the conversation. What about the U.S. men's national team? Now, this is their moment. This is their chance to make history. We know the U.S. men's national team have only won one knockout stage game in their history. This is the moment for them to go to the next level, right?
I am worried, Jules. I said my whole thing with the USMNT this year, I wanted them to make the Elite Eight. I wanted them to go to the 8. Yeah. That's where they went in South Korea. That's the farthest they ever went. By the way, they got robbed in South Korea. That was never a goal. They should have never have counted. But Damian, I'm starting to get a little worried with the form I've seen them losing 7-2 on the aggregate to Belgium and Portugal. I'm worried once they face some top tier competition.
Yeah, and there's a world where that can kind of be a slap in the face, bring them back to reality so that they know what they're going to face in this World Cup. And get serious. That's kind of been the theme with the U.S. men's national team. Yeah. Will they be a serious national team?
Jules, him and Elias Bustamante, they said, Riz, they got to get serious. That made me a little upset. Now, Julian, I got to tell you about my good friends at Tri-Rail because it's the way to go for when you're going to Inter Miami games. Partner, you take it. You take the Tri-Rail. You leave your car at home. It's a 10-minute walk to the stadium.
Best way to get to new stadium.
So, folks, leave the hassle. Leave all that at home. Get dropped off at one of the Tri-Rail stations. That's how you're going to want to do it. Avoid the airport traffic. Avoid the headache of it. It's a 10-minute walk. Folks, a 10-minute walk. You're there in a jiff. Tri-Rail. Try it today when you go to new stadium. I will be down there on Saturday. Julian will be there as well, and he's taking the Tri-Rail. Go take the Tri-Rail as well. Tri-rail.com. That's tri-rail.com. $5 weekend rates. Jules, thank you so much, partner.
Thank you, guys. 50 days to the World Cup. Let's enjoy it together.
This has been Pink Smoke on ESPN 106.3.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I wish